It.
Oh man. Not in a shy way. And yes, I did it my way.
Your way.
How's it going, man?
How are you?
Dude,
I'm just lovely. So lovely.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a piece.
Yeah, a little bit, man. Yeah, I had to shave off all the facial hair, you know, because the wind one day, it came along and it wrapped it around my head. And so it was just not working. You know, it was so long.
Yeah, no, I get it. I dig it. I didn't recognize you at first. I was like, wait. Who is
Did I
this?
call the wrong person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I dig it, man. Good
My
to see you.
doppelganger.
Yeah.
Good seeing you.
Let me give a quick shout out to the peeps in the chat.
What it is, yo?
William, how's it going, man? I feel like you're everywhere I turn. I see a William. How you doing, man?
Nice.
Zachary, what up? Stephanie, I miss you. Dog's my co-pilot. How you doing, hon? Valeria, always great to see you. Lauren, what the what and the who and the who and the what? How you doing? Saw it too. Peanut butter jelly time.
It's peanut butter toast.
Okay,
all right?
but it's peanut butter jelly time. Butter jelly time. All right, Dallas, what's up, Holmes? Okay, so we've got some shit to talk about, but before we get into the, I don't know, the whatever, I thought you were gonna be doing like a Robbie Krieger.
Ah, yeah, I could do a little Robbie Krieger.
Love me 2 times, baby. Yeah, I dig it, man. That's so good. All right, so he's an actual musician. I clearly am not.
Only on Fridays.
Only on Fridays, when he's had a couple too many Michelob. All right, so this is On the Rocks, my friend. What are you drinking?
Well, for tonight's pairing of alcohol and debauchery via Jim Morrison, find my camera angle. There it is. Right. I have a 2019 Michelob. It's very tasty.
2019, that's a good year.
It's a very good year for these. Only 95 calories. And to top it off, you know, this is the hard stuff. Then the chaser of the vodka sunrise.
Whoa.
Because I don't really do tequila. But
the vodka sunrise is the chaser. Not the mix. The vodka sunrise is the chaser.
Exactly.
Okay. The vodka is the chaser.
Yeah, you gotta go with the weak stuff second to wash it down.
Right. I feel like we're a couple weeks away from leaving Las Vegas at this point.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we could do
that. I am sipping on an old staple of mine, the Old Vine Zinfandel, because I am a fucking wino, and I love it so much. I have actually abstained all week, challenging as it was.
Yeah.
Yesterday night, I was sitting down on the couch with my beautiful wife watching some shit, and I was like, you know what? I'm on fucking, like, because I'm on vacation right now. I'm on vacation. I'm going to go get a fucking drink. And she said, no, you're not. You told me not to let you drink until Friday, and it's Thursday. So you're not going to get shit. And I was like, damn it. Damn it.
You win.
Damn rules. So, yeah, I did. But I've been hankering. I've had a hankering for booze, and I finally got it. And as you can tell, it's soaked, and I smacked my face off.
It's working. It's
working. Doesn't work anymore. All right, so there's a couple things I want to talk about before we get into the main topic at hand.
Yes.
First and foremost, I went to get a cut. I got a little fade here. I don't know if you
Oh,
noticed.
yeah.
Yeah. That's so
Looking
bad.
smooth.
Not so shabby. Thank you very much. My regular hair stylist was out of the town. I think she's illegal, but she's a great hair cutter. But she was out of town nonetheless, and so I had to get cut by a white woman.
I've been cut by a white woman once. She was
It's
really upset.
outside of the love situation, it's a fucking it's like you never know what you're gonna get. It's a box of chocolates and fucking Tom Hanks shit. I can't think of the name of the fucking movie.
Forrest Gump?
Thank you.
Life is like a box of
fucking
Jennings.
box of chocolates with a white woman cutting your hair. You never know what you get. First of all, black or Latina, you know you're getting a good fade. Hands down, they would not be in the business if they could not cut or fade a black or Latino man's hair.
This is
for the
true.
women. They won't do it.
Yeah.
But a white woman.
Well, yeah.
I mean, let's be fair. White dudes are fucking dumb and ugly. So they don't fucking care what their hair looks like. They're just like, whatever. You know, like you make it short here, you make it long here, and whatever. I don't care. My fucking white Mormon wife doesn't give a fuck what I look like. She just wants me to bring home the bacon, and on my birthday, I get to stick my dick in it, and that's all. That's my life. But for the black and the Latina dudes, it's much more important. And so I always kind of look for the black and Latina girls to cut my shit because I know they know what they're doing. This particular case, she was out of town. I had to go. The last haircut I got was a fucking travesty by a Latina girl, which was my first fucking mistake. I applied what I knew about the Latina girls that cut my hair to all Latina girls, and I was fucking burned, man. She didn't fucking cut it right because she didn't know what the fuck she was doing. And, okay, let's just say you are a stylist. You are a hair trimmerist. You are a fucking... Oh, what's the
barber?
No, I was going to go with Edward Scissorhands. You're an Edward Scissorhands in the making, and you think you got your shit down. If a customer asks you how long you've been cutting your hair, or how long you've been actually a stylist or cutting hair, that's a fucking clue. Like you're doing something wrong. If they're like, "Oh, how long have you been doing this?" and they're gripping, like their knuckles are white because they're gripping the edge of your fucking chair, the barber chair, and you can actually see it's glowing from underneath the hair, like the neck towel thing they put over you, the poncho that you're wearing. If you can see glowing things from underneath the poncho, it's not because their junk is magical, which in my particular case it is, but you know, for most people it's not. If you see that, that's fear. That's fear. It's shining. Light is from their nose and eyes and ears. Like light is from their knuckles shining. Fear is coming out, and they're wondering, what the fuck are you doing to my head? That's what they're wondering. And that happened to me. So today, I went and I saw a white woman, and I was pleasantly surprised that she was like, oh, they fucked you up. Let me clean you up. And so I feel a little bit better about it. I'm a little more comfortable about it. I feel a little bit sexy. I feel like I could samba, even though she was a white girl. Anyway, I don't know.
So what do you get done to your hair? I mean, do you say get me the fade? I mean, that doesn't look like a military cut, my friend.
I say 1970s black man, and they do it. That's all I say. No, okay. The point I went off on a rant. I didn't mean to. So I go into this girl, and she's like, "Can I shampoo you?" And I was like, "No, I'm good. I don't need a shampoo. I shampoo my hair twice a week, and I'm fine. I'm good." She's like, "It's no trouble." I was like, "No, I'm good."
She wanted to do it right there in front of everybody.
Yeah, I was like, "No, I'm okay." She's like, "No, it's on me." And now I'm starting to think it's not just the shampoo we're talking about.
I don't think it was.
Like, I think maybe this is a happy ending or something. And I'm trying to figure out how long that neck drape that they put on is. Is it long enough to cover a happy ending?
I mean, do you go to like the same place all the
Yeah.
time, or is this like a mobile
No.
haircutting truck?
She
and
knows me.
She knows you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. She's like, no, it's on me. I will give you a shampoo. I was like, no, it's okay. She's like, no, after. I was like, after?
What do you mean?
Like,
Do we have to
an
go back to
ending?
your place?
Like an
or-
ending? Like a happy shampoo ending? Like a shampoo happy end? Like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, no, I'm married. I'm fine. I don't need a fucking happy ending shampoo. Like, why are you pushing the shampoo? And then here's the other thing. What is it about me that you think that I would let someone other than my wife shampoo my hair? Clearly, we're
Maybe-
talking about pubes, right?
I mean, maybe. Just going out on a limb. Maybe she saw a couple flakes,
I just feel. Oh,
and maybe she was trying real hard to be nice.
you sneaky motherfucker. First of all,
I mean, and maybe that was it. You know, she was trying to say, "No, really, you need your hair washed. Shit is."
it's
gonna
like if
be-"
someone offers you a piece of gum or a mint, don't pass it up because your breath stink. That's
Yeah.
why they offering. I never even considered that. Oh shit!
Just maybe.
I
Maybe.
mean,
I mean,
Fuck,
the other-
dude.
the other thing sounds a hell of a lot cooler though. So we can go with that.
She was just trying to be nice. Oh, I feel bad now. What the fuck? Okay. I genuinely feel bad. I thought
Oh.
I was like hot shit, and now I realize I'm just like flaky lizard man. God damn it.
No. I'm sure it was all about other things. Had nothing to do with your hair. Not
Okay.
that she was a
Alright,
stylist
yeah,
and was
no,
really
it's-
into hair care. Nothing like that.
Thanks for ruining my fucking high. God damn it. That's some fucked up shit. Okay, so on the topic of happy endings, I want to ask you a question because we all face this. I feel like we covered a little bit of masturbation in the last show when we talked about socks, but I feel like we need to double down. So if let's just say you're home alone and
Okay.
you're a dude, it's gonna happen.
Uh-huh.
But
That's-
if you're expecting loving later from
Uh-huh.
a girl, right? If
Uh-huh.
you're anticipating future loving that night,
Yeah.
do you masturbate? Do you only do it like 3 times? Like what's your limit before
At
you're
least twice with an hour in between before the loving, because you got to be ready. You don't want to be quick draw
Right.
McGraw
like
there.
right?
And you know we're getting older. You know we're getting to that age where it happens. So you gotta you
that
gotta
and
practice.
dandruff.
You gotta practice that and dandruff. I mean it's that simple.
What's happening? What is happening? Yeah, because I was in mid moment
Yeah.
going, oh shit, I'm gonna be hopefully doing this later. Like, should I not finish? And I was like, oh come on, don't be stupid. And I was like, okay, but should I just do an encore because I felt like it was a good show? Like you have to do an
Well,
encore. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have a standing ovation at the end. I mean,
First of all,
that's-
this is a musician saying it, so he knows. people.
Yeah. You gotta, in the kind of people that we are, that is, you enjoy the pleasures of the flesh, and there's no reason to deny yourself just because the off chance you're getting some physical touching later.
Right.
But that's the thing. You want to be ready. You got to be ready for, you got to be impressive.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I've always been of the mind more is better,
Yeah.
not less. Better.
Yeah. Yeah. You want them to actually projectile off of you from the force of the sperm leaving your body
Yeah.
like a fire hydrant of cum.
Well, I mean, that's okay as long as it's longer than 2 minutes. Then yes, you're good.
Longer than 2 minutes. Oh, you mean the entire act, not
The entire
projectile.
The
Okay.
entire
I thought you were like
that
eating bananas or something, and I was like, I can't.
no, no.
So much potassium, I can't take that much in. Okay. Well, I was just
It's
curious.
all about shakes. It's all about shakes.
Okay. You want to talk some Doors? Should we move off of this topic?
I mean, if you want to, I'm enjoying it.
I feel like we have to.
but-
It's illegal in some states of what we've been speaking about.
I think the YouTube standard is
The YouTubes can't
The
handle this much
YouTubes.
spunk talk. It's crazy.
yes.
Okay, well,
What?
this is stretched out, but it'll fix itself.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Doors. When were you first introduced to the Doors?
That would have been.
It's not fixing itself. Why isn't it fixing itself? Why does it look like this?
I don't know.
What did you do, Ray? If someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. Why does it look like this? It's not supposed to look like this.
Yeah. It's really stretchy.
Why is it all stretched? It's not supposed to be
Whoa.
stretched. Okay, it's fixed. All
There
right.
it goes.
There
There
we
it
go.
goes.
All right, we're
You just
back.
had to yell at it.
Sorry.
That's
Stupid Doors pictures! Fix yourself! I feel like Bernie Sanders. The top 99% of Doors pictures will be stretched, and we need to fix this.
this can't be. I don't know why you think it would work. It's not gonna work.
All right. The rich can't handle the top 99% of Doors photos. We will get the 99% out there. It's like offensively Jewish at this point. Like, the Holocaust was not a total travesty. Did you meet the Goldsteins? I'm not saying they deserved it.
Ooh.
I'm just saying they were obnoxious. Is all I'm saying.
I mean, yeah. You know? Wow.
So fucked up. Okay, let's move on.
On
Okay,
that
the Doors.
note,
The
yes. I first heard them, I think, early in high school.
Mm.
I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to listen to any kind of rock music whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was all country and bluegrass and gospel. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate what I heard. But when I heard them in high school, I was like, the first song I think that really caught my attention was Not to Touch the Earth.
That's a good one.
And I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Who is this? And so it was a cassette my friend had in their car, and so I took the cassette. I was like, this is mine now. I need this.
Clearly, someone didn't learn how to share.
Gave it back after some
This
time.
is mine.
But yeah, after, you know, when the parents weren't home, I would throw that in the cassette player and listen. You know, it's like one of the early greatest hits cassettes they had out, and it just blew me away. You know, like something about their sound was so different, and just the lyrics were amazing. And,
Yeah.
that primal scream, and then
Yeah.
going from the primal scream down to a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
One thing I was really always blown away by the Doors is that rather than being a rock band who emulated other rock bands or always wanted to be rock stars, and henceforth, you know, idolized other rock stars, they were film students.
Right.
Oh, sweet fucking hell. It was Manzarek and Morrison that were film students. And so they had this eye for theatrics, that they understood the importance of drama and composition and everything that has to do with theatrics.
Yeah.
And so they took that approach to their music, which was vastly different than anyone had done as of yet. And I think that's why they've persisted for so long, and they've been so popular and successful, damned the generation, because they speak to the core of the drama in the human experience, which
No doubt.
is so incredibly important. And why I love literature, and why I love film, and why I love music, and everything is it's the connection of the human condition to our environment, to our atmosphere, to our emotions, and that's something that the Doors really tapped into before I mean, arguably before anyone else to their time. I
Yeah.
don't think they would persist this long after the passing of Morrison and the band, as it were, if it weren't for their longevity, if they're speaking to something that was essential to humanity. And because, you know, and you can argue other bands have not been able to do that, and they've tried. So what is it about this particular band that put magic out there? And I
Yeah.
think that is really at the essence. So my first experience with the Doors, I gotta be honest, oh no, I do remember. My sister was a little bit older. She had her first kid. She was living in an apartment, and we were pretty close as brother and sister. And so she asked me to come over to her apartment, and she rented The Doors, the film, and we watched it together. And this was my first exposure, 100%, like no exposure until now. And this is Adam in his junior high years, and it blew my fucking mind. I immediately became obsessed with Jim Morrison and the Doors, the mythology that was built up around Morrison, and the experience that the Doors had of starting from nothing, becoming this bright flame, and then dying out immediately as the artists themselves realized that they couldn't handle what they had created. And it was this moment of self-expression. I was in the primal youth of experimenting with drugs. After that point, that film introduced me to the idea of experimenting with drugs and in psychedelics, and it forever changed the trajectory of my life as far as I'm concerned. I understand that the film is not 100% or 35.7% truth of the experience. But after that, I started reading novels written by the band members and those surrounding the band. And I became obsessed with the bibliography. I became obsessed with the stories. And it completely changed everything about how I witnessed reality. Because up to that point, I was very much raised in a Mormon household. And so my personal interpretation of life was good and evil. Satanists in the woods, as I was told, to scare me from, the woods and just, bad things in general. But also that if you were a good person, you stayed away from these things. And then I witnessed this show that said that the good things had less meaning than your interpretation of them and the experience you derived from them. And it completely opened avenues to me. Like there's not just one path that you can choose. Like you can actually decide your own path in life, and that's a thing. And you can be wrong and find your own trajectory. It was amazing. And so that film, as much as people like shit on it, I can't help but truly, genuinely love it. Not just because of Val Kilmer and Meg Ryan, but and all the other fucking people in it, but because it opened me up, completely, and I loved it to death. So for those of you who are not familiar or maybe don't have a full understanding of the Doors, they were formed in Los Angeles in 1965 with vocalist Jim Morrison, keyboardist Ray Manzarek, guitarist Robbie Krieger, and drummer John Densmore. They took its name from the Aldous Huxley's book, The Doors of Perception, literally referencing a quote by William Blake. They immediately after 2 years, signed with Elektra Records, and they released 8 albums in 5 years. They had 5 albums, 6 albums, 1 live release, and 1 compilation of sort of like the best of. And it was groundbreaking. It was disappointing. It was challenging. It was constipated. It was a trajectory of a band that was testing grounds. So you had bands like the Rolling Stone, which kind of did the same thing forever. You had bands like the Beatles that completely changed their sound album to album. And then you had the Doors. We sort of tested boundaries. Like in the time the Doors came up, all the other popular bands were talking about peace and love and fighting the machine, and the Doors talked about darkness.
Yeah.
They talked about experience. They talked about perception. No one else was doing that at the time. And they completely broke through because of their original views on things. And that was because not only the amazing makeup of the individual artists that comprised the band, but the front man of all frontmans, Jim Morrison. Like, you cannot pretend like other frontmen have a fucking candle to Jim Morrison. He was the personification of rock and roll. So what did you think of the not just the musician, but the poet, the character, the Lizard King? Like, what did you think?
Oh, well, he did. It seemed like what a lot of musicians do and hold. He created a persona, just a stage persona, and probably unintentionally from things I've read. The LSD experience and all the psychedelics in the early days of the band, and going on stage just tripping balls most of the time, created this wild man who was just totally shocking in everything that he did. You see the Beatles in their clean cut suit, and here comes the guy with long hair and the tight ass leather pants that you can see his dick hanging out, and I mean, just truly a sex symbol, but of a man, which at the time wasn't a common thing. And they used that for the first 2 years of the band, and when they really took off, and then him realizing he couldn't do it anymore, that really wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
He enjoyed beer, he enjoyed food, and just being a normal person. I've read and seen pictures of where he would be walking down Sunset Boulevard, from bar to bar, and have this throng of women just following him. And he was so embarrassed or shy about the whole thing, and it's just quite amazing because of how intelligent he was. He wasn't the crazy drunk guy. He really had something to say. He didn't know what it was until the later years, it seemed like.
Yeah. So their first album released was in 1967. It was The Doors. And I distinctly remember that album because my dad, my father, edited by recording over the vulgar parts of the end.
Oh,
where
wow.
he's talking about finding, he walked into a door and he saw his sister and he saw his brother. And then he walked into another door and he saw his father. He said, "I want to kill you." And then he, walked on down the hall and he saw his mother. "I want to fuck you." And he edited my cassette tape because back then there weren't CDs.
That's right.
Edited the cassette tape by recording over those parts so that I could continue listening to it. And I got to be honest, I didn't care. The fact is I could still listen to the majority of it, and that was good enough for me. Well, I didn't need all of it. Like, and I knew what they said, so it's not like he could erase my memory. And it's not like I wanted to kill my father or fuck my mother. It was just that it was such a rebellious statement to blatantly make, so much so that they were kicked out of the fucking Sunset? Oh, what was the name of the
Whiskey A Go Go?
Whiskey A Go Go, when they fucking first performed that.
Yeah.
It was just out of nowhere, and he was riffing, and there was always this fascination of mine to have sex from beginning of the end to the song The End. And I talked about it with girlfriends for a while, and then I finally got to do it with my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, and it's a lot shorter of a song than you think it is. Like, it seems long when you're listening to it.
Right.
But you're in mid-coitus, not that long of a song.
Yeah, not that much at all.
You're trying to climb boobs, entertain valleys and fucking clefts of clit, and you're just like, I don't want to stop. Why are you ending already? God damn it, stop the song. Let's hit pause so that we can continue playing around a little bit. But it was a good time. Good time.
That's awesome.
I
That's
finished
awesome.
to the end. I got to the end with the end, and it was awesome. Like it was just one of those
Nice.
things where you're like, hey, I wanna have sex with this song. Let's do it. And we're like, okay, well, it's not going to be that long of a song, but it's long enough. And like, what's
Yeah.
long enough? And it was still good. It was a good time.
Nice.
So I
That's
highly recommend people.
awesome.
Strange Days. First of all, at any time I can put on the album The Doors, and I will feel happy.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every
There's so much
single time.
energy.
Yeah.
Energy from that album, and that was the thing with the Doors that other bands weren't doing at that time, is the energy exchange between them and the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And having played music in front of live audiences, I've had that experience. I've had definitely played shows when it was not that at all, and it really sucked, but it's a high like you can't describe. Just that the audience is into it, the band's into it, and it's like everybody's just kind of getting off on this whole energy trip. And
Mm-hmm.
and that album, I think, above any other album that they did, really captures that.
Hell yeah, dude. Strange Days is the second album they released, and probably one of the most, outside of Light My Fire, known songs, and maybe not even attributed to the Doors. It's just a song that people know. People are
Right.
strange when you're a stranger. Everyone knows that song. I was in high school sitting on a bus, and I was, all rockered out, long hair, leather jacket,
Nice.
going somewhere, and girls in my high school that were like a year or two younger than me were talking about that song, trying to figure out who it was that sang it behind me. And I was listening to them, and they were like guessing random, ridiculous bands. And I had this moment of not only like nerddom, like push up my glasses, actually, but also just like disdain and hatred that they didn't know who sang the fucking
Right.
song that they were talking about. And I turned around, I was like, it's the fucking Doors. How do you not know the Doors? It is the Doors you're talking about. Not any of those other stupid bands that you're referencing. The fucking Doors. And more importantly, if you don't know the Doors from all those other bands, then you've never actually listened to the Doors.
I tell you, you're wrong.
Cops in America. Yeah, no, I totally felt like a nerd in the moment, but I feel like I put some of them on the right path.
Well, that's true. But the thing, that song had a big comeback in the movie The Lost Boys.
Right.
And
Right.
that I remember watching that movie when I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And that song scared the shit out of me for the longest time. I didn't know who did it, but I knew it scared the fuck out of me because of that movie.
Yeah.
And once I heard the Doors do it, it was much different feeling I got. But yeah, like it's such a great album.
I love the meaning behind it because I felt that so
Exactly.
many times. So ultimately, the meaning behind People Are Strange is when you're hard up for drugs, everyone is out there being a stranger to you because you don't have drugs and you're trying to score, and those who have drugs don't want to share them. And so it's just your own moment of frenzy of wanting to score but not being able to. And I've been there so many times on acid, trying to get just another hit to have another 12 hours of madness when it was coming down. And the worst part, I think, of acid is the coming down part, because not only is it painful, but you also realize that this is the end. Like there's nothing else as good is going to happen. You just have to suffer for a few hours. And you're like, fuck, well, give me another fucking hit so I can be up for another 12 hours and not think about it. And so that's why, I mean, to be fair, in my drug days, weed was the best accompaniment to acid, because it would ease the transition from the pain of coming back down from acid in the hours. Alcohol just wasn't quite enough for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I identified so much as a teenager trying to score with that song, People Are Strange. And that's maybe why I was so incensed to
Yeah.
those stupid fucking girls not knowing having the gall to not know who sang a song.
Who did they think they were?
I know. There's no Google. There's
Fuck.
no literally. There's no internet at this point.
No.
They were just like, I heard this song on the radio and it's a good song. I wonder who sings it. And this dude just turns around in the fucking public bus and yells at them. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
like,
my God.
what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Why is he yelling at us? He apparently
It's
loves
just
the
weirdo.
Beatles. Yeah. Fucking crazy person. And then there's Waiting for the Sun, which is
Waiting for the
another
Sun.
amazing song. Critically, when it was released, they were constantly everything that the Doors did, they compared to their first album, because their first album was literally revolutionary. No one had released anything in the amount of time and with the impact that that first album had. Not just, you know, on an individual music lover or whatever, but like on the popular culture charts of America. It completely blew up immediately. It was huge. And people didn't understand how the impact it had. And certainly the band didn't realize the impact that they had, because when they continued to try to change their sound and experiment in different ways, they were attacked by the media because of it. And the first major time they were attacked was with Waiting for the Sun. They thought that the track Waiting for the Sun, was too much like the end, but it didn't have the cinematic drama of the end, and so it wasn't good enough. And so musicians critiqued it like shit.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Go
But
back.
the song, When the Music's Over,
Mm-hmm.
you know, was supposed to be
That's actually the track I was talking to, Not Waiting for the Sun.
yeah, When the Music's Over. That one definitely, you know, they were trying to recapture the success they'd had with the end, and I mean it's such a good song by itself, but you know, during the times, and you know, it just doesn't stand up to what the end was able to do, what it was able to catch.
Yeah.
Still, you know, that is a great fucking album.
But this is the thing, is I think what we as human beings traditionally like to do, and again, this is very overarching type stuff, is compare an individual's work to their past work or to what we believe they are capable of, rather than taking the piece for what it is. And I think ultimately, you know, we see this a lot in films primarily, but we also see this in music and artwork. And I think ultimately it's to as the consumer of art's detriment, because we aren't giving it the opportunity to be what it is. Rather, we're trying to compare it to something else. And and I think it's the Doors that allowed me to do this for the first time. What I try to do is take every rather than just farting through my lips, which I just did, rather than I was like fart. Rather than take an album, for example, and compare it to another, just take every individual track in its own sake and enjoy it for what it is, and see it as the collection that was compiled for whatever reason it was, and just accept it for what it is. And in that context, I was able to fully appreciate, I believe, literally every single track that the Doors ever put out as a fully formed 4-member unit. There are albums that I don't even consider part of the Doors, and we'll get to those in a second. But like, that's why I loved whether it was Waiting for the Sun, Morrison Hotel, the Soft fucking Parade. I love the Soft fucking Parade. But again, it's because I take them for what they are, and I don't compare them to the catalog that they've created thus far. And I think there are bands like the Beatles that everyone is comfortable doing that with. But then there's other bands where they just decide, no, we're going to completely compare you against the first thing you ever released. And if it's not as good as that, in our personal opinion, then it's shit. And like, no, like, just everyone grows, artists grow. And growth is not always better. Sometimes they experiment. And it may not be as good as, but it's certainly different from. And if you can't appreciate the difference from, then you shouldn't be able to appreciate what was. Because everything in the world is subjective.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. You know, a lot of people are down on the Soft Parade because it didn't produce really that many radio hits, and they were really experimenting at the time with different sounds and different stuff. And you know, I really appreciated it, and I got to know a little bit a guy that played on the Soft Parade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a guy named Jesse McReynolds played mandolin on "Runnin' Blue" and another song.
Great track.
Yeah, and they flew. You know, he's told me how they you know, the record company contacted him because he was, you know, in a bluegrass band playing on the Grand Ole Opry at the time in the '60s, and so they contacted him and flew him out to L.A. And he, you know, he said the band were very nice. You know, all were gentlemen, very intelligent, knew music inside and out, and were really, you know, appreciative of what he did. And you know, just really cool to hear, you know, just but he's the track, you know, he said he was there maybe a day and did his part, and
Wow.
yeah, so it wasn't very long, but got that done and was out.
That's something that when people typically think about the Doors, they think about Jim Morrison. But again, I want to reiterate, they're forgetting the fact that the other three individuals in the band were consummate musicians. Like they had idols. They had their own individual ideas. Manzarek, he was a bossa nova keyboardist. He loved jazz. He loved to experiment. He loved to go all over the board. If it wasn't for his fucking keyboards, the Doors never would have fucking worked. Manzarek, I don't know why I said his name twice. Robbie Krieger, he was the first person to put down slide guitar on fucking tape. Like that was an old black man blues tradition. He was the first white man to ever put that on tape. And he was the first one attributed to the fucking bottleneck guitar because of it.
Yep.
He was obsessed with blues guitar and jazz guitar. And again, even his work after the Doors ended, you can see that he's obsessed with the craft, not just wanting to be a rock star. And I would argue he never even tried to be a rock star in the first fucking place. John Densmore, which gets a lots of shit because of the film, but is actually an amazing drummer. He was a crazy jazz fanatic that if it weren't for his beats and his ability, and I have to say, most bands, the drummer is the soul. He keeps the timing of every bit and piece of the song. He was playing second to fucking Morrison on mic. And that's something that does not happen. You have to be an amazing musician to be able to take cues from your fucking vocalist, drug addict singer to fucking not only just keep time, but know when to pick it up with your fucking shit and keep the song progressing forward. I mean, this entire band was magic in a bottle, and anyone who dismisses it isn't fully recognizing the true musicianship that came into it. And again, I'm not saying that Morrison was a musician, a talented musician at start, because he was a failed filmmaker. He was a poet. He was a writer. He was a sort of a visual artist. But he became an amazing fucking musician.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he fit. You know, I mean, individually, you know, Robbie was a great guitar, but he was weird. You know, he didn't use a pick when he played. He was a flamenco style guitar player before, you know, before joining the band, it was like a month or two was the first time he'd ever picked up an electric guitar. And John, you know, was a jazz drummer, and so, you know, Ray was a jazz organist. And individually, they were great in their own right, but there were definitely people who were better individually. But their thing is the four of them, they moved as one. You know, they played really well together. And even Morrison, though he didn't have an instrument, his voice was his instrument. The way he could distort his voice and the grunts and the primal screams, and it just fit. And you know, as we'll talk about the later records after Morrison, you can see there how it just wasn't the same without that fourth element. And they all played off of each other. And you're right, you know, how Morrison would give cues to the music, and how I remember reading at one time when he was drunk or on acid, something where he was just out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in the middle of a song. I think it was the Hollywood Bowl concert.
Yeah.
And they were doing the end, and he had taken acid before the show, and they said he was, you know, in a pissy mood because
it was like a brick, right?
Right, yeah. And said Mick Jagger came to the concert and was sitting in the front row, and Morrison's girlfriend was sitting on his lap.
Yeah.
And so Morrison was pissed off, you know, the whole time. And so you can watch during the end when he starts like walking around the stage and just not really into it. You'll hear little things in the music, and he twerks, he jumps, you know, just something, and gets him going again. Like it was a full experience that you don't get even today with most bands.
It's weird because there was moments when they realized that Morrison was out of it. He wasn't into the whatever he was supposed to be doing, and so they were doing little cues trying to pull him back as musicians. Like, okay,
right.
Boop, boop, like come on back, come on, like, like trying to bring him back in. And they had to just wait and hope that any little cue that they brought out was received by him. And more often than not, it was. And it was because he understood that I'm experiencing this. I'm sort of in this place, but I'm also like out here with all of you, and I need to put on performance and make you feel good. And it started as this experience of him being too shy to even face the crowd.
Right.
To him lauding the crowd, to him being resentful of the crowd, and actually actively trying to cause riots because of his disdain and misanthropy for people. And I can certainly understand that. I can't fault him at all.
Certainly.
And I love the chaos that he would cause in concerts, ultimately to his detriment, because realistically it ended up getting him throwing his ass in jail and facing trial. But
yeah, a friend of mine that I played in a band with was in the Army in the late 60s, and he was in Cincinnati, I think, stationed around there, and he got to see, you know, Jimi Hendrix in 69. He got to see the Doors in 1969 in Cincinnati, and he said out of everybody he saw, the Doors were the craziest thing he'd ever seen, and that he had never seen anything like it before or since, and that that concert actually ended in a riot, and said it was just, you know, the most intense thing from the time they walked on stage. Like, the tension in the room was just building and building and building until finally there were, you know, people rushing the stage and the cops throwing them off, and, you know, all the kids started rioting when that happened. And, you know, just, he could play a crowd, you know. I mean, the man bringing it kind of back to everything we know of lesser magic. That motherfucker knew how to use it. You know? Use his looks and use, you know, he could walk out on stage and be charming and put on a hell of a concert, and all the people would just, you know, be in love with him. And or he could walk out there and be an asshole and really piss the people off and just dare them, you know, what are you going to do? Come get it.
What are you going to do about it?
That's
what
right.
are you going to do about it? Yeah.
You know, truly a magician in himself, you know. Just seemed, in a way, you know, everybody portrays him as this tortured person, but he, you know, you and I have talked before, a lot of the same books that we've read by people that knew him said he was one of the funniest people you'd ever meet. Just always happy and always, you know, doing his thing, just a jokester.
I think that has a lot to do with, and this is something that I don't think is shared enough or maybe discussed enough. It's, you know, this duality of humanity. We have this front-facing persona that we like to project to a crowd, and then we have the persona that we like to share amongst our personal friends. Sometimes that aligns with who we actually are, and sometimes it doesn't. I think in the case when we hear all these secondhand stories about Morrison from those who shared life with him and shared experience with him, he was a very much a tortured individual, but he was happy in that torture. He shared thoughts and experience, and like all of us, we have these terrible experiences in life, but we do our best to work through them, and through our craft, whatever that craft may be, we try to extract not only a little piece of ourselves, but also fuck with those on the other end of it. And I think he was a true master of that idea. And whether he was conscious of it at all times or whether he was under the influence and had no idea about it, I think is less than relevant, because it doesn't matter. That's still who he was. Yeah. And I feel like with any artist, regardless of the medium, you have to take them at their craft.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about a plumber. You take a plumber at his ability to fix your fucking leak. And I'm not talking about a fucking HVAC dude, because you want to make sure that they can fix your fucking furnace or get your AC running. I'm talking about an artist who is complex, who does not run at the normal mode. They're fucking erratic and emotional and abstract and crazy and fucking fanatical, and sometimes more normal than normal demands. But in either way, they are completely different than everyone else, and you have to be able to accept them for who they are. And if you can, then they can entertain, they can inspire, they can truly create majesty for you to behold that you could never have created yourself. And all you can do is just witness and appreciate. And I think those are the moments when we realize what humanity is actually capable of. I mean, we speak so much about the Roman Empire and their engineering capacities of creating aqueducts and structures like the Colosseum, and speaking to their power. But what is it that we truly cherish? It's their art. It's their sculptures. It's their stories. It's their myths. That is what carries humanity. And if any musicians have ever followed in that path, it is certainly the Doors who have followed in that mythology. They created their own. They celebrated what was, and they made sure that every single performance was its own Dionysian theater, and everyone joined in.
Yeah. Yeah. They really did do something that was different. You know, that was a sign of the times that we had, you know, with Vietnam going on. You had a lot of the civil rights movements were still happening. I mean, our country is divided as we see it today. It was very much divided then, and their music was a reflection of the chaos that was happening in the times, the emotions that you would have, even in, you know, just one song, you'd go through many emotions. And Morrison's voice, I mean, all the instruments did it, but his voice, you know, going from a kind, loving sound almost that welcomed you in and could go to harsh and mean and, you know, demonic in his, you know, the primal grunts and screams he would do. It was quite reflective of the nation as a whole.
Yeah. And they span the gamut. I mean, they were... Oh, yeah. They were very popular for, I don't know, like 4 years-ish, where they really changed the way that music was performed and accepted, and challenged not only musicianship, but also the idea of a performance and what states would be okay with as far as performance is concerned. And they ran into some legal issues throughout that time as well.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about some of the albums that they put out here. We brushed through some of it, but I really want to dig in here if we can, just for a moment. So this is the first... Oh, motherfucker, go back!
Go back! Go back!
I don't know how to go back. There we go. So this is their first album, The Doors. I have this on vinyl. I love this
Oh, it's
album
killer.
so much, maybe more than some of my kids, but I can't say for sure. It is just so genuinely good. And again, it was all recorded and released in like a day, like, you know, like 24 hours. They put all the tracks down
Yeah,
and it
so
was just
fast.
gold. And again, they'd been they'd been together for like 2 full years practicing and playing gigs before they
Yeah.
recorded this and were signed by Elektra. And so, of course, they had their set down and they put it all on vinyl. But it was so goddamn good. And then
Oh
you
yeah.
had Strange Days again. We already spoke about this, but some very weird, some very great fucking tracks came out of this.
Oh yeah.
We had Waiting for the Sun again, challenged the notion of what the Doors could actually produce as a band who blew people away with the Doors album,
Mhm.
and then Strange Days, which you don't really have a follow-up album that's as good as the first,
No.
but they did, and then they came out with this, and the music, what are they called? Music journalists. What are they called? The people who judge, like write about music.
Music critics.
Critics. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The critics shit all over this fucking
Oh
record.
yeah.
It
But
was
there,
just-
this was the one that had the Unknown Soldier on it, I think. Also, I believe.
so it did.
And
The Unknown Soldier was great. It has Spanish Caravan.
oh
on this.
yeah, that was
It's
awesome.
fucking amazing.
Yeah, but the Unknown Soldier, at that time, no one had put out a released like a single and put out a video with the single. And the Doors did that with the Unknown Soldier. They filmed their own music video, and man, the video's fucking good. You know, I mean, it's
well,
just-
they were film
just
students, so
well, yeah. I mean,
Yes.
if it wasn't good, then you'd know why they were no longer film students.
yeah. No, it was
Yeah.
good. I want to shine a little bit of light for those of you out there who may not fully appreciate. So the original Doors album had Break On Through. It had fucking Soul Kitchen. It had Alabama Song, Light My Fire, Backdoor Man,
Yeah.
which is just amazing. Take As End of the Night. God damn it,
Yeah.
that's a good song. Strange Days. Your Lost Little Girl, which is great.
Yeah.
Love Me Two Times, which is wildly popular. Moonlight Drive. If I can tell you how many times that song got me laid. Holy shit. People Are Strange are great. My Eyes Have Seen You.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, people shit on When the Music's Over, but I Can't See Your Face in My Mind is truly wonderful. Great
Yeah.
track. Waiting for the Sun, Hello, I Love You, which was huge. It was a #1 for like 5 weeks or some shit, or 15 weeks or some shit. Love Street, which is great. God damn it. This album had so many wonderful songs. Summer's Almost Gone,
Yeah.
Wintertime Love. They tried like fucking waltz music in
Yeah.
a Doors album, and it worked.
So
How
good.
could that
So
work?
good.
But it worked. Spanish Caravan, which still is like up here with wonderful fucking musicianship tracks. And I heard that there's like an extended version. Robbie Krieger admitted that he did an extended version of Spanish Caravan that was cut for time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard that.
I want
Fucking
that
killer.
track. I want
So
the extended
killer.
version of that because there's nothing greater than Spanish guitar, and Robbie Krieger was a master at it.
Oh yeah.
Give it up, man. My Wild Love. I can't
Mhm.
think of that song without thinking of Peyote in the fucking desert.
Yep.
My Wild
Yep.
Love went riding. Ugh.
Makes me think of Man Camp for some reason. I don't know.
No reason at all. But every reason. So good. We Could Be So Good Together. Goddamn, 5-1.
Love my
I
girl.
mean, it's an anthem about the individual population against the military-industrial complex, as it were, against the powers that be.
Yep.
They got the guns, but we got the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So good. And the Soft Parade. They tried to take it down a notch with the Soft Parade. They experimented with brass. They went a little bit fun with it, and I dug it. I really genuinely dug it all. From Tell All the People, Touch Me, Easy Ride, Runnin' Blue, Wishful, Sinful, and then, of course, the title track, Soft Parade. I absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm burping in the mic. That's gross. Sorry, people. Hold on a second. I'm trying to change this. Why isn't it changing?
It no like it.
Why isn't it changing? Oh, there we go. Okay, that's Soft
there it
Parade.
is.
And then Morrison Hotel. Morrison Hotel. Holy shit, this is a great album.
Oh my god. So fucking grungy and dirty.
I feel like people don't fully appreciate this because they don't separate it from their other albums. And hey, come on now. What are you doing? Back up.
Come on.
Show some doggone respect for Morrison Hotel. Roadhouse Blues, Waiting for the Sun, You Make Me Real, Peace Frog, fucking Peace Frog. Yeah. There's blood in the streets in the town of New Haven. Blood stains the roofs and the palm trees of Venice. Blood in my love in the terrible summer. Bloody red sun of fantastic LA. Goddamn, hold on. Blood skins the roofs and pop out fingers. Blood be born in the birth of a nation. Peace Frog is great.
It's awesome.
Good. And then Ship of Fools reminds me of fucking They Might Be Giants. Don't know why.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, I know.
So good.
Oh, man.
Let it go, dude. The Spy got me laid.
Yeah, definitely.
Queen of the Highway is so goddamn good. Indian Summer. Indian Summer is so good. I want to listen to this album now.
I love you the best.
So good.
Better than all the rest.
Oh, dude. It's so sexy. It is such a great album. And people just don't give it the love, and I think they need to.
No.
All right. Absolutely Live was live performance compilation. This was the first live album while Morrison was alive. They would release umpteenth million afterward, but this was all accepted while he was still around with the original four. This was released in November of that same year, 1970. 13, this is sort of a best of, not of live tracks, but of studio released tracks, the 13 best tracks thus far. The downside to this album is that they're missing any tracks from this little beauty. LA fucking Woman. This was my first Doors album in vinyl I ever owned, and it was given to me by my graphic arts teacher in high school. He literally got the vibe from me and gifted me this album, and it not only inspired my further admiration for the Doors, but it took me down a blues path that ended up with fucking Muddy Waters and Buddy Guy and fucking insane shit that I never would have fucking understood if it weren't for this album. This is an amazing musical feat that not only takes us with tracks like Lover Madly, which is wonderful, the title track, LA Woman, L'America, which is an underserved, underappreciated, wonderful fucking song, Crawling King's Sake, Hyacinth House.
Yeah.
What are they doing in the Hyacinth House? This blues album, made by white dudes, was I don't know 100% here. I'm talking out my ass, but I'm going to say it anyway. The first charted white man blues album that didn't have Eric Clapton a part of it. It was received really well. People loved this album. Riders on the Storm. Riders on the fucking Storm. Okay, I want to tell you a story. The time was Adam in high school. I don't know, circa 1994-ish, 93 maybe. I just got out of a mental institution for trying to kill my brother, and so they fucking put me in. The problem was I was high on acid when they tried to, when my parents had the police collect me and take me to this institution. And I was seeing things in the picture that weren't there, describing them to the admission physician. And he was like, okay, hold on. And he called my parents and he's like, okay, tell me what you just saw in the picture. And I explained exactly what it was. And my mom lost her fucking mind. My stepdad lost his fucking mind. And they admitted me. I met this crazy fucking girl in there and I just wanted to fucking hang out with her. So they released me early once the drugs wore off and they realized it wasn't fucking nut job. And then I acted like an asshole so I could get back in just so I could hang out with that girl again. As soon as she was out, we both got together and I started seeing her every once in a while when I was kicked out of my house because I'm a fucking nut job and my parents are nut jobs. And so I was kind of living on the streets a little bit, seeing this girl. And I went with her to her grandparents' house with her dad. Turns out, this is going to get dark, people. Prepare yourself. She was actively being sexually abused by her father, the same guy that was driving me to and from her house, in her grandparents' house, the same place that I was going with her and her father that very day. And the only reason why he didn't sexually abuse her that single day was because I was fucking present. But not only did he try to, you know, like fucking hobnob with me saying, hey, I'm a cool little dude, whatever, but he turned me on to this song, Riders on the Storm, before I had ever fully like realized its majesty, because we were driving back from, I think, like fucking Colville in middle of nowhere, Utah, through the fucking canyons of Utah, while it was actively raining, and they was fucking listening to Riders on the Storm, and now I'm fucking mentally conflicted about this guy who opened me up to Riders on the Storm, but he's also a fucking monster who I wish was fucking murdered in the street. Anyway, that's the song.
Damn.
That's the story. Riders on the Storm. Great song.
Damn. My story is not nearly as cool as yours.
Okay, I want to hear your story now. What is it?
Well, when the year I had met Stephanie, my lovely wife, I was playing in a band. The fiddle player was kind of he was very Morrison-esque, you know, kind of a Townes Van Zandt kind of character, you know, just kind of nuts, kind of crazy. He was into every kind of drug known to man, but hit it well, you know, whatever. He tells me one day, hey, we're gonna go see my buddy Jerry, and whatever, you know, passing through his town. And you know, okay, you know, Jerry. Turns out that the guy Jerry we go and meet, his name was Jerry Sheff. He played bass in Elvis's band.
Oh shit!
And he played bass on this record.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Jerry's a really cool dude, man. Like he just the down-to-earth guy, and you know, he's telling me about hanging out with the Doors in LA in 1970. You know, and after I picked my mouth up off the floor, and you know, I didn't get a chance to ask him any questions. My mind was just blown. You know, like this was a guy that was there.
Dude, I would almost want to hear more about Elvis.
Oh, I know. Now he said that man could do some partying.
Oh, I bet, dude. Oh, god damn it. God damn it.
Hell,
I met a plumber once.
You met me. I mean,
I've met you, yeah. So tangentially, I've met him too. No, The Wasp, another great track.
Oh, so
okay,
good.
So, I mean, I got to stop gushing about this. Now we're getting into some stuff that after Jim Morrison died because of an overdose of heroin, or did he? As there are fans, the fans of Morrison want to believe. The Doors tried to move on and just couldn't do it. They created other albums, too, specifically this, Other Voices, and this, Full Circle, and both were 100% pure garbage. Fuck them. They don't exist.
I don't think I ever heard them.
Really?
I've never heard anything of
You
them.
really should, just so you can appreciate how bad they are.
Yeah, well.
The majesty of this band is not Morrison. It is the culmination of all four of them together. That is what makes the Doors great. And that's proven by these two albums. When the three survivors of the band tried to release music that was similar, complex, the musicianship's there.
Oh, yeah.
But the vibe, there's just something hollow about it. It is not soulful. It is missing the fucking lizard man to deliver his own fucking gravitas. And that is why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I can't listen to these albums. I've listened to them twice. And it's painful. It hurts that they kept trying, and it was just so goddamn sad. And then they realized that with the failure of these two albums, they had to go back to the well, and they discovered that Jim Morrison made a poetry reading right before he died on his birthday.
Yeah.
And they put out An American Prayer, which is... Well, go ahead.
No. I really liked his poetry quite a bit. I mean, have a couple of his poetry books, and I'm always on the lookout for first editions, which are super fucking hard to find.
Mm.
But I felt like this record was, kind of a goodbye from the band to Morrison.
Yeah.
It's about the only way they were able to say goodbye, and except for when he calls them. Still, because he's living in Africa.
It's great. This album is so good. So this is spoken word poetry. Jim Morrison released 2 poetry collections before he recorded this spoken word piece. On his birthday, before he died, he released this in studio. And then years after his death, I think like 2 years after his death, the band came together and performed a score for the poetry that he performed and released it as this. This is a track that, if you're like me, who is a sucker for humanity, you will cry listening to this. It is so goddamn powerful. The music is what does it. Like, I appreciate, I have all of Jim Morrison's work, his poetry writings. I've given it to my wife as as birthday presents when we were recording. I love it so goddamn much. And as good as it is only elevated, again, as I was saying before, by his 3 other companions that create this band, The Doors. And they create a score that is emotional, that is heart-rending, that is powerful, and it takes you on a fucking experience, a journey of knowledge, of wisdom, and it is fun, and it is just great. If you've never heard this album, like, turn it on. It's, I think, maybe Spotify or whatever, but I got Apple Music. Check it out. It's so goddamn good. But again, as I told my wife when we first heard it, turn the lights off, sit alone, and just listen. And don't judge, don't think, just experience it. And I guarantee you that you will be a fucking convert, because this is a goddamned good fucking spoken word poetry album. So good.
Hear, hear.
There's a lot of other
cheers.
Fucking cheers, man.
Cheers. Yeah, that's great.
So good. They have a lot of other best ofs. They have a lot of other live albums, interview albums, and it continues on until this day. They're remastering their old albums and re-releasing them as 50th anniversary versions.
Yeah.
The most recent, I think, is Soft Parade. So everything before that they already have, with additional outtakes, tracks that were not released because they just weren't strong enough compared to every other track on the album. But it's great. It's an exploration of the band's music, the experience. And again, the mythology behind Jim Morrison, I think, is what drives all of this. When you take a step away from the musicianship, and maybe it's foreshadowing, or it's
definitely,
it's casting a shadow on the musicianship because of the power of the mythology itself.
Mm-hmm.
But Jim Morrison, he's got a power and a mystery that resonates with the misfits and the inherent old school punks and the monsters in us all who appreciate and can love the darkness and the idea of death and the possibility of afterlife and the monstrosity that is the machine and our ability to defy that machine and to rage against it. That, I think, is the essence
Yeah.
of Jim Morrison, and I love it desperately.
It's amazing. It's amazing. The true rebel, of question everything
Yeah.
has to be Jim Morrison. I mean, he was ridiculously intelligent, ridiculously attractive, and had a sex appeal that he could connect with anybody on different levels. And also just blow your fucking mind with knowledge of stuff that maybe you wouldn't think about, of something different. Rage Against the Machine is a very good way to put that, because he did that, especially in his later years, once he even against himself, against what he had become as a pop star. It was just completely like, fuck this, this is stupid. Why are you here worshiping me? Go out and do it yourself. That was totally something I could see him being for it.
Mm-hmm. So the mythology upon Jim Morrison's death was so strong, it rivaled the idea of the king himself. Elvis's death, no one accepted. Very few people, I would say, that are fans accepted his death. And so there's this whole mythology built up that no, Elvis isn't dead. He's still alive and living in Los Angeles or wherever. Jim Morrison's the same thing. Like, no one examined the casket before he was buried, and that just fed into that mythology. And it got to such a fever point throughout the years that they actually stole someone stole the headpiece that was his gravestone, a sort of homage to his gravestone by another sculptor, defacing his gravesite. Ultimately, Ray Manzarek got to a point where he thought, okay, if our fans are so feverish that they don't want him to be dead, well, then I'm going to write a story about him not being dead and about what happened. And I've spoken to this on the show before, not this particular show, but in 9 Cents before. And I've spoken, I think, to you, Wes, about it. But there's this really amazing book. I got to find it on my shelf. It's called A Poet in Exile. I don't see it on my shelf at the moment. But it's about the what if. What if Jim Morrison didn't die in Paris? What if he faked his death? And it goes into this journey of Ray Manzarek being contacted years later by Jim Morrison and learning the truths that Jim Morrison learned throughout his experience of being a band member. And again, you have to understand that this was the 60s that the Doors got together. A lot of them were into meditation and Buddhism. Actually, the majority of the band members, save Morrison himself. And so a lot of the story is very hippy-dippy, finding the peace within type narrative. But I appreciated it because his life was such a chaotic rage that in death, the idea of him finding some sort of mythological peace is actually reassuring. Like, I actually appreciated it. He had a son in the story, and there's this wonderful moment of him finding a connection and love with this other human being in this island, and finding love and peace and understanding and coming to a grown-up understanding of this youthful angst that made the Doors the Doors. And so it was a wonderful sort of catharsis to the mythology that was shrouding Jim Morrison. So if you are a Jim Morrison fanatic, I highly recommend A Poet in Exile. It is fantastic. Again, a little hippy-dippy type stuff, but if you're into the mythology, then it'll feed into it even more, and I think it's wonderful. And I think,
Nice.
I don't know, what else do you want to talk about the Doors? Where do we want to go here?
I really, where can you go? I mean, I I really, with all the conspiracy theories and stuff, I feel like the most logical explanation I've ever heard uh, of his death, was a heroin overdose.
Yeah.
And allegedly, there were. I'd have to look up the links, but there have been news articles recently talking about the count that his girlfriend stepped out with all the time. And this person was very intertwined with the music scene and allegedly was a heroin dealer not only for Morrison but also for Janis Joplin, and that it was the same
shit.
heroin that killed both of them.
Oh,
that it was just
shit.
extremely pure, and that they just took too much. And I the one I find the most likely, even though it's very conspiracy theory-esque, is that he OD'd in the Rock and Roll Circus bathroom in Paris.
Rock and Roll Circus.
Yeah, that was a bar in Paris that all, like, Jagger and all the big rock stars of the day would come and hang out there. And there's witnesses, if you see different interviews with people that said Morrison came there and had a drink that night while Pamela was out seeing this other guy, and he was actually trying to score heroin for her, and it was a couple of that guys that was dealing at that place and sold it to him, and he goes in the bathroom, and that he actually died there, and those guys took him back and put him in the bathtub at the apartment.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Oh shit. So what did you think about the way that Oliver Stone's film ended him? With the whole mythology of the Indian and everything.
Yeah. Well, as far as a piece of cinema, it was very beautiful. For a long time, I studied shamanism and Native American whatever, because I'm sure, like Elizabeth Warren's family, my family was supposed to be descended from Cherokee Native Americans.
That's a weird weird name drop there.
Weird off the cuff. Yeah. And so I got into that, studied it for as far as it would take me, I guess. And I thought for a piece of cinema, like it was a beautiful way for him to go out, But that whole film, as marvelous as Val Kilmer was as Morrison, as that legend, and I still would have liked to have seen Heather Graham play the part of Pamela, because she actually auditioned.
What?
For that. If you can find it on YouTube, there's an audition tape of her and Kilmer playing a part, and she would have been amazing. I don't think she would have been.
I think Meg Ryan got it because of her name.
I did, yeah.
She was super popular at the time.
Yeah, she got it for that. And if you see, there's one scene where they're in the hotel and they're screwing, and the camera pans down on her breasts, and then she covers them up, and Oliver Stone was like, yeah, she was really self-conscious. It kind of killed the whole mood. And I don't think that was the case. I think he just wanted to see some titties off an actress. But
Heather Graham would have put up.
Oh my God, she would have played it completely different. I think she may have even hit it a lot closer to how, people were in the 60s.
Yeah. No, she's great. I 100%. I love that actress. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Meg Ryan too, so I don't want to put any shine on her, but
yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's the whole movie mythology. I thought for a long time, probably like you did, that this is what Morrison did from the time he woke up from his hungover sleep until he passed out again, was that he was drinking or doing drugs or fucking or singing.
Yeah.
One of the four. And then if you being a rebellious young kid because you grew up in a very religious, restrictive household, you do a lot of that, and it ends up hurting.
Yeah.
It hurts a lot.
Yeah, which I think also feeds into the artistic expression too.
It totally does. And, when I was playing music in a bluegrass band in a very, was very Christian restrictive areas, as it were, that these festivals and shows would be. He was very inspiring to be different. I grew my hair out long and had pierced. Oh, totally, man. And was just, crazy. I had sleeve tattoos. And as soon as I'd come off stage, I'd take my shirt off and just be in a t-shirt or a shirt. So all the tattoos were showing and all that. And
let me introduce you to my guns.
Yeah. Yeah. My at the time too, I was, I was tiny, was like 130 pounds, I think.
Whoa.
Because I was trying to be as skinny as Morrison and be as outrageous, and my tiny little arms. So they've gotten so much bigger now. Me gave Arnold a run for his money.
It's so much bigger now. Look at my arms.
You got to pick up the weights.
They're huge. Oh man. All right, well, we are past our time limit here, so we're gonna have to end it there. We're like a half an hour past our time limit. Holy shit. Thank you all so much for tuning in for the length of this conversation. Hey, we're just a couple guys having a couple drinks and enjoying our whatever topic it is at hand. So whether it's masturbation of the doors, it's all good.
Or masturbation of the doors.
While you're getting a shampoo. All those weird fucking things. No, it's on me. It's okay. I'll give you a shampoo. I don't want a fucking shampoo. Stop trying to give me a shampoo. Why do you want to give me a shampoo? So weird.
You need a shampoo.
Yeah.
You really need it.
Does it include my pubes? Because they're kind of rough. They're like bristly, like SOS pads. You want to shampoo those? Is that not? You don't do that? My butt hair? Do you shampoo butt hair? I don't have a lot of it, but I got some of it.
Maybe that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, she was like, you're scratching up my seats. Every time you sit down.
She's like, you really need a shampoo of your ass, sir.
I bet you've never shampooed your ass. I'm going to be the first. I'm going to shampoo your ass, and I guarantee all these just run dry. It'll be good. No, that was another thing she said. She's like, no. Fuck, I'm trying to remember now. It was something about run dry. Like she would just let it run off my scalp or something. I'm trying to remember, but it sounded very sensual. And I was like, I'm married. Like, you cut my wife's hair from time to time and my kids. What are you saying right now? And there's other people in the room. This is like a working studio. Like, what the fuck?
Maybe they're very liberal there and very open.
We don't judge. If you come in a person's hair, it just happens,
Yeah, maybe that's what she's talking about. She's going to sit on your head. She's going to shampoo you, and then it's just going to drip off.
Oh, man, that actually sounds pretty awesome.
Oh, no.
I feel like I might have missed out on something awesome. God damn it. God damn it. All right, I'm going to go back tomorrow. I'll let you guys know how it goes. I'm here for the shampoo. I was told I'd get a shampoo.
I get shampoo now?
I'm ready. I'm ready now. I thought about it. She's like, get the fuck out of here, loser. Oh, man.
I thought about it, man. Yeah. I need a shampoo. Need it so bad. Not getting a shampoo was a mistake.
Holy shit. We got to end this. This is fucking over. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in live. We appreciate you. Send us your thoughts about the doors. If you don't like them, you're lost. I do. We do.
Yeah, sorry. If you don't like it, just keep it to yourself. It's fine.
Yeah. Now watch us singing the doors on our way out. Hail Satan.
Hail the Satan.
It's not really the doors. It could be the doors.
It could.
Take me to the moon. Let's ride through the time. Penetrate the evening and the city sleeps too high. That was right before I lit a fart.